So let's get right into it. We're going to talk about this kind of modern cultural sickness. And it's one you've probably felt, you know? Even if you couldn't quite put a name to it, it's that feeling of being, I don't know, a little hollowed out, like you're performing your life instead of actually living it. But, and this is the important part, we're not just going to talk about the problem. We're going to look at the antidote, this quieter, more human way of being. And we're going to explore how we can actually lean into that presence, you know, one small choice at a time.
I mean, this quote it absolutely nails the core of the problem, right? People don't live anymore. They broadcast. It's this idea that our lives have somehow turned into a 24/7 broadcast for an audience that's, well, it's invisible and half the time probably imaginary. It's a really powerful thought, maybe even a little uncomfortable. So let's actually unpack what that means. What does it look like to live in this state of performance?
All right, section 1, the performance sickness. So first things first, let's try to diagnose this phenomenon. What even is this performance sickness? Well, you see it everywhere, don't you? In traffic, at work, and oh my gosh, it is absolutely rampant in the comment sections online. It's this culture that's just built on noise, on outrage, and on optics. You know, how things look over absolutely everything else.
You know, the source material actually gives this a name, and it's pretty evocative: performance zombie culture. And the key idea here, the really central thing to get, is that it's not about a lack of intelligence, not at all. It's about a state of, well, of absence. You can have all the right opinions, you can have the perfect resume, the most polished online profile, but if every single thing you do is just for show, then what's left? You're basically hollow on the inside.
So let's talk symptoms. Do any of these feel a little familiar? The glazed eyes from just endless scrolling. The words that sound so scripted, so perfect, because they're all part of building a personal brand. Or the gestures that are totally rehearsed for that perfect selfie. See, the whole goal just shifts. It's not about living a real, genuine life anymore. It's about broadcasting a perfectly curated one. And the crazier part, the more outrage you stir up, the more engagement you get. And somewhere, buried deep under all that noise, the truth just gets lost.
Okay, so that's the problem. But underneath all of that noise, there's an alternative. And this is where we're going to make a shift, right? We're moving from the problem to the solution. Section 2, the presence alternative. This is about a quieter, much more profound way of being that the source calls presence culture. And it's not about, dropping out and living in a cabin in the woods unless you want to. It's about tuning in, just differently.
So what is this presence culture? Well, it's pretty much the exact opposite of performance. It's not about broadcasting, it's simply about being. It's about paying attention. And that's a key distinction, right? It's not about getting attention from other people, but about paying attention to the reality that's right here, right in front of you. And this really gets to the core of what we're trying to figure out today. How do we actually actively choose this more genuine way of being in the world?
And one of the core behaviors of someone living with presence is captured perfectly right here. They listen instead of react. I mean, think about it for a second. We live in a world that absolutely rewards the instant, loud, angry reaction. That's what gets the clicks. Presence, on the other hand, is the simple and kind of radical act of just listening first. It's about actually trying to absorb and understand what's being said instead of just waiting for your turn to talk or type or post your hot take.
And then there's this, another really crucial distinction. They build instead of brand. Performance culture is totally obsessed with branding the self, right? It's all about crafting this perfect, curated image. Presence, though, is focused on building things of actual, tangible value. Things like stronger relationships, real skills you can use, healthier communities. It's simple, really. One is about image, and the other is about substance.
And this really brings us to the fundamental difference in what motivates people. Performance culture? It's a relentless hunt for likes, for shares, for any kind of external pat on the back. The source calls them validation points, which is just perfect. It's like a video game. But presence culture, that's totally different. It's a search for genuine human connection. And that's something, that no algorithm, no matter how smart it is, can ever really measure or give you.
Okay, section 3, performance versus presence. So we've kind of defined the two sides of the coin here. Now let's put them right next to each other, head to head, and see just how different they really are. I think when you see it laid out like this, the choice we all face pretty much every day becomes super clear.
Okay, let's just break this chart down. Look at motivation. For the performance zombie, it's all about feedback from other people.
But for someone with presence, it's about paying attention to reality. Then there's the environment. Performance just feeds on noise and chaos and distraction. Presence, it grows in silence, in quiet. And the goal? One is all about gaining validation, while the other is about finding connection. It's the difference between being hollow and just broadcasting and being truly alive and just being.
And this is so important to understand. The key difference here, it isn't money. It's not your social class or your job title. It has nothing to do with any of that. The difference is awareness. It's a choice, an internal choice. And that choice between performance and presence, well, that's available to every single one of us in this very moment.
So that brings us to the most critical part, right? The how. Section 4, choosing to be human. How do we actually push back against this performance culture in our own lives? How do we make that conscious choice to be, well, to be more human, one small, deliberate act at a time? Let's talk about the rebellion.
So this rebellion, these aren't some grand, sweeping gestures. They're actually small, deliberate acts against that performance machine. Let's walk through them. First up, pause before you post. Seriously, before you hit send or share, just take 1 second, one breath, and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it to connect or is it to perform? Okay, number 2, choose truth over applause. This could be as simple as admitting you don't know something in a meeting instead of trying to fake it. It just means saying what's true, even if it's not the popular thing to say. Third, listen instead of just reacting. The next time you feel that hot surge of outrage online, just try. Try for 60 seconds to see where the other person might be coming from before you fire back. And finally, number 4, focus on connection, not validation. Instead of scrolling looking for likes, maybe just send a real text to one person you actually care about. See? These are the small things, the little practices that build presence.
And please don't underestimate the power of these small choices. Because every single time you choose connection over validation, every time you decide to really listen instead of just reacting, you are actively nurturing the part of our culture and the part of yourself that is actually alive and real. You are, quite literally, feeding the living world and starving that dead, hollow, performative one.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. In an age where everything, the algorithms, the social pressures, is constantly rewarding imitation, rewarding us for being a copy of a copy, what if the most radical, the most rebellious act you can commit is to simply choose to be fully, quietly, and genuinely human?